What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is just, taking it easy, just relaxing, and super excited for the last top 10 list. And of course, like the title says, it's the top 10 best metal albums of 2019. Now, this has taken me a long time to figure out my favorite albums of 2019 because it was an insane year for metal. Seriously, one of my favorite years of metal. I discovered so many bands, a lot of help because of starting this reaction channel in 2019. And this was really hard to put all these albums in a top 10 order. It took me probably like a month and a half. And like I said in previous videos, metal is in quotation marks because this is not metal in the traditional sense. There's going to be many subgenres of metal like deathcore, metalcore, progressive metal, even a couple surprises maybe. So keep that in mind. It is not metal in the traditional sense because metal is such a broad genre and there's so many subgenres. Anyway, I hope you're excited because I'm excited and I feel like that's enough chit chat. So let's fucking do it, and here's number 10.
Number 10.
Alright, coming up at number 10 is FLESHGOD Apocalypse VELENO. Now, this band totally caught me off guard, and if you didn't know, I'm a big fan of classical music. I listen to classical music every morning on my way to work, and so hearing classical arrangement with death metal was insane, and this is so well done how they make this like orchestratical pieces just flow so seamlessly with this crazy riffage. There's sweeping guitars, blast beats everywhere, and then there's also just piano arpeggios. There's so much going on, but it's all so beautiful. It's so dark and haunting. Songs like Sugar, the first song I heard with catchy kind of vocals in death metal too. There's so many surprising elements in this album, and it's so dynamic too. There's different variety in the songs too. Some songs really slow it down, which really changes the pace. Overall, this album is just great, and it's a huge surprise for me.
Number 9.
And if you know this channel, then you know I gotta show some love to Straight From The Path, Eternal Atomics. Now, I love these guys, and I've been loving this band since their first 2 albums. They kind of dropped off for me, and a lot of that is because they went into a more Rage Against the Machine kind of rock route. And for this album, it really brings in the best of the old and the new. It is just a fun album. That is the best way to describe it. I can just throw this CD on anytime, and songs like Fortune Teller are just bangers with heavy breakdowns. Obviously, with Will Putney, his producing makes these breakdowns just so full and heavy, and Tom's guitaring is just catchy. Whether you like Straight From The Path or not, or agree or disagree with their political views, you can't deny that this is just a really solid effort from Straight From The Path. It's a step in the right direction for them, and there's beautiful moments from Craig Reynolds. His drumming is just impeccable. This guy is a beast on the drum kit. Seriously, if you want filthy breakdowns and just fun, hardcore, metalcore songs, then check out Straight From The Path, Eternal Atomics.
Number 8.
And coming up at number 8 is the genre-bending Sleep Token Sundowning. Now, it's hard to categorize this band as a specific genre. Are they progressive metal? Are they alternative metal? Or are they even post-hardcore? It's really hard to just categorize this band as one genre, and in a way, I really love that. I love a band that is genre-bending and really changing up the game, because metal enthusiasts, including me, love the direction this band is going. It's very soft, it's very ambient, with beautiful angelic vocals from Vessel and these piano soundscapes that are just kind of hypnotic. It's mesmerizing, it's beautiful, but then it gets really heavy. It gets filthy, and you just want to headbang and throw a chair, because these breakdowns in this album go hard. Songs like Higher, The Offering, Sugar are some of the best tracks, and then there's actual really heavy songs like Gods that really show that this band can be aggressive if they wanted to. And bands like this really change up the genre and bring in new sounds to metal, which I'm totally all for.
Number 7.
And coming up at number 7 is Fit for an Autopsy, The Sea of Tragic Beasts. This album is just well written, it's well produced, it is heavy, it is melodic, but it's serious and it knows how to place its parts well, whether it's like a breakdown, but knows how to do it well and sparingly. It doesn't just throw in a breakdown for the sake of having a breakdown so it's good at a live show. No, this is a serious band with serious messaging behind its lyrics. Joe, the vocalist, brings in these brutal lows, but then he brings in these powerful cleans too. There's so much dynamic in the vocals, and the rhythm patterns are fast, they're heavy, the chuggy, but then the guitar work is not just sticking to chugs too. There's cool tapping leads, great guitar work, and well written by Will Putney, who also produced this album too. Seriously, Will Putney, thank you for producing so many good records this year.
Number 6.
And coming up at number 6 is Periphery Hail Stand. This is the best album that Periphery has written yet. 1, 2, and 3 are solid, but in my opinion, Alpha Omega was their best stuff until this album came along. This album is just the most collaborative effort from Periphery. Before, you can tell that the songs were written by specific members like Mark or Misha because they all have their distinct styles, but here's Periphery Hail Stand where everyone is coming together to write really cohesive music. And Reptile, the 17-minute opener, is just awesome, and it's so badass. That's how they opened up the album. And the thing about Reptile, if you watch my previous video, I said that it doesn't feel like it's going from point A to point B. It feels like a complete circle, and that's what I mean. These songs feel complete, they're cohesive, they're written really well with new and unique ideas. And there's songs like Crush, which shows the variety in the band, but then there's also songs like Blood Eagle that are just so heavy and hard-hitting. This album really shows the dynamics of the band, and this is why it's one of my favorite albums of the year.
Number 5.
Coming up at number 5 is Thank You Scientist, Terraformer. Now, Periphery Hail Stand wasn't my favorite progressive metal album of the year. That title goes to Thank You Scientist, because this album, it's more progressive rock with jazz fusion, but it's also progressive metal at the same time because it throws in metal elements as well with shreddy guitars, sweeping kind of guitars, but then it throws in saxophone, trumpet, swelling violin. There's beautiful melodies that are all harmonized with these vocals. And these vocals, think of Claudio Sanchez from Coheed and Cambria doing the vocals. So this music may not appeal to all the metalheads, but for what it is, it's just a fun album. And this album is really dynamic. Sure, there's like a lot of progressive rock and jazz elements, but then they bring in new sounds in New Moon and Birdwatching. There's different sounds and many instrumental moments that are just like insane. How they write this stuff and make it all flow together in sync with the band with these different melodies all harmonizing with one another is just so impressive. If you are a guitar virtuoso or a drummer or any kind of musician that appreciates like really skilled musicians, then check out Thank You Scientist, Terraformer.
Number 4.
Now my number 4 goes to Johnny Booth, First Hand Accounts. Now if you're wondering why there's not too many hardcore bands on this list, this is why. Johnny Booth really caught me off guard with their song Thief. It is fast, it is heavy, it is relentless. The drumming is absolutely insane. The guitar work has so much variety. There's so many cool, badass riffs in this band, in this album. Seriously, if you're into hardcore and you haven't checked this out, then you gotta do yourself a favor and check out Johnny Booth. There's songs like Feast is Over and Asymmetrical with badass breakdowns, and then there's also songs like Bury the Rose which have catchy choruses. One of my favorite parts about this album too is that each song feels different from one another, which is a lot to say in a hardcore or metalcore album. Having each song feel different from one another plus have so many unique moments makes it that much special, and for each moment to be as hard-hitting or as fun or as aggressive, it's really like an achievement, and this band has knocked it out of the park with this album. This is one of the best albums I've ever heard in my life, and you guys got to do yourself a favor and check out Johnny Booth, First Hand Accounts.
Number 3.
And coming up at number 3 is Shadow of Intent, Melancholy. Now, if you know this channel, you might have thought that this album would have been placed a little bit higher. And don't worry, number 3 is still a really good spot because what they have here with Melancholy is absolutely insane. The guitar work is my favorite part about this band because Chris writes phenomenal riffs with great solos that aren't just shreddy for the sake of it. They all have good feeling to it. And it's hard to explain, but it's until you listen to it and it just fits the context of the song so well. The drumming is awesome, it is relentless, it's fun to headbang to, the vocals are absolutely brutal and demonic. And also this album follows a concept album, so there's so much detail into what's going on with the lyrics plus the symphonic elements. Seriously, if you are into death metal or deathcore and you haven't checked out Shadow of Intent Melancholy, then do yourself a favor and check it out.
Number 2.
Coming up at number 2 is Northlane Alien. Now this is the first and only album by Northlane that I've actually loved. There's only just been singles that I've enjoyed, but I've never thoroughly enjoyed an album start to finish. And one of the main reasons why it is the variety in the tracks. Now that's huge in a metalcore album, to have different kind of sounding songs from one another. You got Bloodline, the more radio rock song, but then you got songs like 4D that are heavy but also kind of radio rock. But then you got songs like Gin and Vultures that are heavy and hard hitting. And then you got emotional tracks like Sleepless. This album has so much variety, and a lot of it is because the electronic elements that are introduced. And another reason why this is in my number 2 is because it's pushing the genre forward. Sure, they're bringing back ideas from 2000s new metal, but just like other bands who are bringing in like classic rock or different elements, that's the same kind of argument. Because what Northlane is doing, they're pushing the genre a bit forward by bringing all these new sounds, and they took a huge risk by doing that, and it really paid off because the electronics blend in so well with that 7-string guitars, because in a way metal and electronic music are kind of similar to one another, especially the dubstep and metalcore genres. So it fits so well in the context of the music, but then also there's a lyrical theme as well. It's all about Marcus and his troubled past and what he's dealt with. It's tough lyrics to read and listen to, but in a way I'm glad that Marcus has found a way to release his anger through these songs, and it just ties in the whole album really well. And another thing, like, everything about this album is really good, from the branding, album art, and the logo designs and the colors that are used. This is such a cohesive album that they had an idea, they executed it, and they perfected it. Now I know Northlane Alien is not everyone's cup of tea, but you can't deny that the cohesiveness, the well-written songs are just something that you can definitely admire from Northlane. And I'm so glad that Northlane has written a record where I can actually call them like one of my favorite bands now. Now before I get to my number 1, here's many honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions.
And my number 1 is...
Number 1.
All hail the almighty Norma Jean. Holy shit, when I first heard this album. Seriously, so I've always liked Norma Jean, and their previous album, Polar Similar, I really enjoyed. I thought it was an extremely solid effort from Norma Jean, but then it was until All Hail that just blew me out of the water. It is heavy, it is emotional, it is fun, it is dark, it is sad. It has everything that you want in a metalcore album, and it brings in so much variety, and that's what I love. Each track feels much different from one another, which again is a lot to say in metalcore or even hardcore album, to have variety in the tracks. You can listen to the first 5 seconds of the song and immediately tell what song that is. Now, what I also really like is that this is a pick up and go kind of album. You can throw it on, play track 3, 4, listen to Landslide Defeater, Mind Over Mind, jam out to it, and still have fun. Or you can listen to it start to finish and just be enthralled by this experience. That's what I really love. This album doesn't require too much from you, but if you do want to go into the details, oh my god, there is some emotional lyrics like Found in Anna, or a crazy cool guitar work found in Orphan Twin, or knife scrapes and landslide defeater in the breakdown. This album is heavy and the vocal range from Corey is insane. Corey has never sounded this good ever. He brings in the lows, he brings in the highs, he brings in the catchiness and the emotion in his vocals. He almost sounds like Sam Carter from Architects at certain times. I was totally impressed by how much he's improved his vocals, and also the guitar work is just fun. It is heavy and makes me just want to pick up the guitar and start learning some of these riffs. There's so much dynamic in this album that it's just great to listen to, and you're always finding new things when you're listening to it, or you're always just getting these lines stuck in your head. Also with this album, there's different variety within the genre. Sure, it's hardcore metalcore, but you get some sludge metal in there too, and you get some hard rock. There's many different kind of genres that are all combining, yet it still sounds like Norma Jean. No other band can sound like this, which is another thing that I really like about this band. And a big reason why this album is so good is because of Will Putney. Again, he has produced another magnificent album. Will Putney is the MVP of the year. Seriously, this guy was unstoppable in 2019, making so many good albums, and for me personally, it was Norma Jean, all hail. Now, the metal community seems to be sleeping on this album as well, which is crazy. If you are into metalcore or hardcore, or if you're into just rock kind of music, hard rock, then check out Norma Jean, all hail. This album is a masterpiece. It is the best thing I've heard in 2019. It totally caught me off guard, and I'm still blown away by it when I listen to it. So do yourself a favor and check out this album, because all hail the almighty Norma Jean. Alright guys, that's my top 10 list for the top 10 best metal albums of 2019. Now again, this is all subjective, everyone's different, so I'm curious, what are your top 10 best albums of 2019? So comment down below. I'm excited to hear it because of many albums that I missed, and I want to know if there's something that I've been sleeping on. So comment down your top 10 best metal albums of 2019. Other than that, thank you for tuning in. Till next time, peace.